fire in the front here, and that heats the water. So air enters, you take this plate off and air enters through there, goes through the fire, is heated up, and it goes to the back of the boiler where it splits into two and comes up back to the front beside the boiler in these two tunnels. Then it recombines and goes down the middle underneath the boiler, then out up the chimney at the back. So the hot gases pass the boiler 3 times before they go up the chimney. We regulate the fire by raising and lowering this weight, which raises and lowers a guillotine type door at the back there before the chimney. So you just, that opens and closes that. Because of course if you just let the fire burn freely, you get too much air and it won't heat the water, so you've got to regulate it. On the front of the boiler we've got water gauges. If there was water in there you'd see the water level. There's 2 of them, so in case one of the glasses breaks, you can turn the stopcocks off and replace the glass, and you've still got another one there if this one breaks. The water level is generally around about that level. Got a pressure gauge on each of the boilers so you can monitor your pressure. There's a mark there at 93 pounds per square inch, which is what the pressure gauges, the pressure release valves are set to. So you can't explode the boiler. You don't want to explode the boiler. But we generally operate these boilers at between 60 and 80 psi. So of course what we're generating is wet steam. It's not dry, it's not superheated. As I say, we've got 2 boilers. This one was built in 1909 at Thompson's in Castlemaine, which is about 60 k's to the north of here. This boiler first went to a gold mine in Dalesford, the Central Ajax mine, where it provided the power for that mine. Then when that mine had finished with the boiler, it went to a woolen mill where it was used to power the looms that wove woolen blankets. And then it went to Dalesford Hospital. And then it came here in 1985, and it's been fired since 1985. And of course we shut the boilers down over COVID because Sovereign Hills shut down and nobody was here, so we shut them down. And Sovereign Hills made the decision not to fire them again, which is a great pity, and because we haven't got any steam, we can't run any steam engines. This other boiler was built in Bendigo by Roberts and Sons, and this one was built in 1911, and it first went to a gold mine in Bendigo somewhere. We don't know which one, but when that gold mine had finished with it, it went to a guest house down in Lorne on the coast and provided all the power for the guest house. And that boiler came here in 1980, and that's when we first started firing the boilers. So these boilers have been fired for around about 40 years, but no more. Now of course when you put water in a boiler and heat it up and you generate steam, the water level is going to go down. So we've got boiler feed pumps here, and these are powered by steam from the boiler. So this end of the pump is where the steam goes, it powers a piston in there, and there are pistons in here. This is where the water is pumped, and it's pumped into the boiler. This is a Worthington, that's just a brand name, and we've got 2 weir pumps over here. Steam at the top and water at the bottom. So that's about it for here, unless you've got any questions. No? All right, we'll go out and have a look over here.
Different setup to the one.
Okay. This engine used to operate every day when we had steam. It was made by Walkers Limited in Queensland, And the reason we've got it here at Sovereign Hill is that Mr. Walker originally had a foundry in Ballarat in 1860. And sometime after that, he moved to Queensland because he thought the business opportunities looked a bit better in Queensland. It was probably during one of the mining downturns. Anyway, that firm still exists today. They still make large engineering things, railway locomotives, and all sorts of big industrial machinery. So his foundry was very successful. The engine is set up to make it look as if it's running the winches, but it's not. We just had it turning over at about 4 revs a minute. Very nice engine, seeing it in motion. Anyway,
what happens to your steam? What do you do with the exhausted steam?
just goes out in the atmosphere.
The atmosphere,
Yeah.
don't use it again, right?
No.
For that machine there, that's a big price shaft there. That's a piston.
That's right, piston.
This is your tank.
Conrod. Yeah, that's where you take your drive.
Yeah, that controls
that's where you-
a valve block.
Yeah, in the box there beside the cylinder is.
That times it.
That's
times
it.
the entrance to the
That's
door.
right. You got the eccentric rods.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That determines which end of the piston the steam goes.
Right.
Yeah. They generally don't condense the steam on land-based things because water's usually pretty plentiful. But of course, they always do it on steamships because you're surrounded by salt water. So you want to recover your water if you can. Yeah. There are condensing engines on land, but there's not many.
I just thought that they used it again to repower something like
Oh, well, it takes power to condense the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes power to condense it. And then you've got to keep the condensers up. You've got to maintain them from rusting and so on.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, generally it's, they don't condense on land. Yeah. All right, we'll go and have a look at the winder. This is the winder room, and it's called the winder room because this machine here is a winder. It is also driven by steam, and of course the winder winds the cages up and down the shaft. They're the things that the miners travel in, called cages because that's what they look like. You'd probably call them lifts or elevators. But the cables from the cages go over the head sheave and into the winding drums. One goes to the top of the drum, the other goes to the bottom of the other drum, so that the cage is in the shaft operating balance. There's a requirement under the Mines Act that you don't have any large out of balance loads, so that's why they have it set up that way. You can see the clock there, which indicates to the winder driver where the cage is, and those markings on it are in chalk because the relative location of levels changes summer to winter because of the stretch of the cable, stretch and shrink of the cable. The winder driver would operate the winder from here where I'm standing. And if you want to stand up here, you'll see that through the windows there you can see the upper and lower brace where he lands the cages, and that's where the men get in and out of the cages, or the trucks are pushed in and out of the cages. This winder came from the UK. We don't know who built it. It has got a plaque on it, but we've done some research in that John Donald was a machinery dealer. He didn't actually make machinery, so we're not sure who made it. We got it from Costerfield, which is near Heathcote. And if you don't know where Heathcote is, Heathcote's near Bendigo. And it came from a gold mine over there that closed down in about 1944, 1945. It was actually a gold and antimony mine. And Sovereign Hill got the winder in about 1968. Behind you here we've got an air compressor. It is steam driven. It also came from Costerfield. And this end of it, there's a two-stage air compressor. It would compress the air to about 120 psi. The other end of it, the left-hand end of it, is the steam engine that drives the compressor. And you'll see on that there's a governor, which of course controls the speed of the machine. You set it to go at a particular speed, and that maintains that speed within very close limits. If the machine goes too fast, the balls fly up, and that closes a valve down in here. If the machine goes too slow, the balls fall down, and that opens up the valve. So really, the cruise control on a car is really a bit like a governor. It's a modern development of it. Of course, this is mechanical, and in the car it's electronic. The other thing with this is it's got a dash pot and weight, and that's set up so that if the compressed air in the air receiver outside, that's a tank that stores the compressed air. If that is full, that senses it and switches the steam engine off. So it's all fully automatic. The steam engine behind you here powers the pump underground in the mine, and it does that by driving the big pinion there, which drives the shaft, and at the end of the shaft we've got a big rod which goes out, and the motion is transported or transferred underground. So it's operating a pump at the bottom of the shaft, but from here. We used to operate this when we had steam. We used to run it all day. It's a lot easier to understand how it works if you can see it working, but because it's not working. You've got to use your imagination. Anyway, we'll go down to the shaft there and have a look over there, and we'll talk about how this works. You can stand up to the winding rock stands up there. That's right, exactly. Yeah, that's all the wood does. Yeah. It just makes it look nice, and yeah, it certainly insulates it. And they usually have insulation behind that. Well, you have bearing oil to lubricate the slides. I might have been in the old days, because these days it's all modern oil. Right. And then for the piston and the cylinder, you have steam oil. And steam oil, I don't know whether it is like it, but it's much thicker. It's almost like chain bar oil on a chainsaw. And you've got to get oil into the cylinder. So this brass arrangement here, that's a lubricator. Right. So that injects steam oil into the cylinder. So that the piston rod, or sorry, the piston ring sliding in the cylinder has got lubrication. Because if you don't lubricate it, it'll wear out. Right. Yeah.
See the bearings on these?
Yep.
I noticed they've got like brass cups, bronze cups.
Yep.
Have they got white metal inside? Or are they just bronze?
The ones here, they're bronze. Yeah, you can see one of the bearings there on that post. That's rope.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that bearing comes out of the bearing on the other side of the flywheel. It's very hot. And that rope. So